Hi, I'm Louisa from Feel Good Astrology. I just wanted to take this moment really to tell you a little bit about me. And I think it's only fair because I have a lot of people that come to me and ask for consultations about real private matters. And I'm really respectful of the level of trust that the clients that I work with have, that I share with them. I think it's really important, and so it's okay for me to put a little bit of information about me out there. I'm a stay-at-home working mum. I've got 3 kids, 7, 3 and 8 months old, soon to be 9 months old. So I've got my hands full. I live in Portugal with my husband and my kids, and kind of have a bit of a homestead life. So that's currently how I'm set up. I work a few hours a day, every day, to make sure that if I get a question or a request for a consultation, I can deal with them just as soon as I can. So we have quite a steady life, but one with quite a lot of freedom. You know, we like growing stuff and getting out and about with the kids and learning Portuguese and exploring this new country that we're in. We're obviously from England originally. I've lived in lots of different places around the world, and funnily enough, a lot of my clients are from all different places too. So I really like that. That's one of the benefits of my job, is that I get to learn about the lives of the people I'm working with, and some of the pressures in different countries and in different cultures. So I love that. It's what makes me really tick. And I guess, you know, you can see the world map behind me. You know, I'm not a brilliant traveller. I haven't travelled all around the world, but I tend to go somewhere and live there for a while. I'm not really a holiday person, but I'm really respectful of difference and the opportunities that we all have to get to know each other and get on. I love that. I'm a bit nosy, really, probably. I've been fascinated with astrology since I was about 5 or 6. My mum told me I was born on the cusp between Sagittarius and Capricorn, and she actually told me I had 2 star signs, and so I learned about it really quickly because I was fascinated that there could be this system in place that could like give us ideas about our life. I just love that, and I was always quite introverted and very fascinated by the idea of predicting futures. When I was 11, I saved my pocket money up and bought a compendium of fortune telling. So I concentrated on reading palms first of all, and practiced with whoever I could. I remember going on one of my dad's work days out. There was a coach going to a theme park, and there were about 40 people on this coach stuck there bored for a 2-hour journey there and a 2-hour journey back. And so I went reading the palms of all the different customers on the coach. And kind of that's how I approach life. When I'm learning a new skill, I need to practice and practice and practice. And I love doing that. And that's how I learn about people. And as a teenager and as I went through my early 20s, I just started learning astrology as much as I could and practicing on people, just doing free readings everywhere I went. So I started doing my certificate in astrological studies when I was 20, while I was living in France, and I got all the way to the end of it, and then didn't submit my last. I just couldn't finish it. I don't know why, because it's not like I couldn't do it. It just didn't really capture me completely. And it could have been to do with my age and where I was in my life and what I was doing. I never actually had the guts to work openly as an astrologer, possibly because I grew up. I went to a grammar school that was very sort of like pro science and not very pro spirituality or sort of otherworldly things. So there's a bit of shame and embarrassment about it. And in spite of that, I continued to learn it and read it and whatnot. So I did the next best thing I could, which was I spent most of my working career working in training in HR. So I was doing training and delivering courses for blue chips, banks. I worked for JP Morgan Chase for years. Worked for insurance companies, RIAS Insurance, Teachers Assurance, and just did loads of training and whatnot everywhere I was going. And I loved training. I loved working with people and coaching people. And off my own back, I studied hypnosis and also NLP. And then I got the opportunity to write lots of course material for the jobs I was doing, and wrote lots of hypnotic subliminal messages into the sales training, and I got to test it out on the people I was working with, and that helped me go freelance. Then I worked as a freelance trainer and facilitator for quite a few years, all over the UK and Ireland and stuff, working for lots of different companies. I loved that. It was really good. It was a good earner as well. A really good earner. But I wasn't satisfied. I found it really hard working for big business and helping helping big business make more money. Just didn't really turn me on, and I wanted to just do something that made a difference on a personal level to people, real people, you know. And yeah, and so I just went away. I went to Bali in Indonesia, lived there for a short while. And while I was there, I started doing astrology readings, and like actually started charging for them, and also doing hypnosis and NLP treatments while I was out there. And I really enjoyed it. It really sort of felt right to be working with people and coaching people on an individual level, rather than on a global kind of corporate level. It felt much more in tune with who I was. And then I met my husband and got pregnant, and and then slowly started veering off it. I weaned myself off the corporate lifestyle, and then as I became a mum, I started to charge people for a little bit of astrology, and got the feedback, and went a bit further and got more feedback, and just moved on from there. I did lots of stand-up astrology radio shows where my husband would interview me. He's got a background in media and production work, so I would have people phone in for astrology readings and ask me questions and test out my skills. So I put myself really in the firing line. I had a blog for many years, not a very successful one, to be fair. I had, over 500 followers, less than 1,000, but which I guess is quite good, actually. But every time I had another child, I would pull back and then start plodding forwards again. So it took me a while to find my natural expression astrologically. But I think I'm there now. I'm definitely there now. This membership that I'm doing at the moment, it's been coming into creation for a good few years now. Sort of working out what my offering was and how I would bring people in. The funny thing is, all this time I've been thinking, well, if I have a blog and if I get a huge following, then I'll get lots and lots of readings. And actually, how it's gone is that nearly all of my readings and all of my membership have come from the people I've already worked with and from word of mouth. So where I've worked with people before, I've been able to work with them again consistently year on year, until the point where I say, you know what, membership would really suit you. This would really help you. And yeah, it's just fallen into place. I'm really grateful for it. And actually, I prefer working with my members now, because I'm working with them in short bursts every month, but also in a continuous communication. So, as I give them a reading, and then hear back from them to say, wow, that was spot on, or wow, that was great, but next month I'd like a little bit more of this. So I'm able to really do very specific readings for people and help them move. So it almost feels like I'm combining my coaching skills from all that time I was working in corporate training situations and freelance training situations. And so I'm pulling all of that experience in and mixing it with the astrology, and I love it. So I've got my two membership coaching plans at the moment. The Feel Good Astrology, which is the advisory one for €35 a year, where people get updates, they get 10% discount, they can attend a webinar, and a few other things that are quite useful. And then I've got my astrological guidance plan, which has a monthly fee. It's a lot more expensive than the Feel Good one, but they get personal updates every single month from me, and we work very closely together to make sure that I'm helping them move forward. Yeah, and that's the story about me and my journey through astrology. Oh, actually, it's not, because isn't it funny how life brings you new situations and how you move forward? Because I've been fascinated with over the last 7 years, as I've got further into my astrology studies, which have been ongoing since I really started learning about astrology from about age of 11 and started studying at age 20. And since then, it's been avid study and reading and testing my skills all the way. But around 7 years ago, I started to spend more time focusing on the aspects between the planets, like the actual angles that they are apart from each other, rather than the zodiac positions, which is kind of cool, because there's a couple of different systems that Western astrologers talk about. There's tropical, which are the usual positions for each of the constellations, each of the zodiac signs. And then there's sidereal, which has been adjusted for the progression of the ecliptic. And there's a lot of sort of infighting between astrologers. You say, "Oh, if you're tropical, you're not a real astrologer," and and I find I get really kind of fed up with those starting point issues. I tend to ignore them, because what's more fascinating to me is the geometry that exists between the planets, because that's the thing that I've really found that works. The zodiac signs, they come into it, but really for me, it's about the geometry between the planets. So for instance, where you've got a really tight aspect, that's a lot more important than an aspect that doesn't have such tight geometry. And I'm fascinated by the shapes that are formed by your planets. Some of my clients have got birth charts that almost have pentagrams in. If you connect the dots, it creates stars. Or I've got customers with almost like a Star of David line up in their charts. I've got people with kites and all sorts of different geometric patterns. And I like looking at how the planets get activated. So when you've got these really strong patterns in charts, what fascinates me is that as a planet, it moves over one of these points on a geometric pattern, that everything gets set off at the same time and stuff really starts happening. So as I've been observing the patterns and observing how they get activated, I became aware of a form of astrology called Magi astrology, and read one of their books and thought it was really interesting, because they talk about planetary geometry, and they also talk about the different perspectives of looking. Like on this map, for instance, we've got the longitude and latitude, so we've got them latticing across. So if we were to talk about the Congo, for instance, I can go across and say, oh well, that is on the equator line, that's here, and it also goes there. So it's got two sets of reference points, But when you actually look at zodiac astrology, you're just getting a flat. You're getting one of those lines, but you're not getting the other one. And so this new form of astrology, which isn't a new form, it's a really old form, but the Magi astrology I'm actually starting to study now, or intending to study. I'm learning about it at the moment, and I'm getting ready to actually formally start my studies with them. But they will look at the position on the ecliptic, which for all intents and purposes I'm going to say is like a latitude, and then they look at the height that the planet is at as it goes on its orbit, because as things are orbiting, they're going up and down, a bit like if you're going on a roundabout, you know those merry-go-rounds with horses and they go up and down, up and down. So I'm learning a new form of astrology, and I'm very excited about it because I'm going to add it back into the benefits that I learn about are going to be fed back into my membership for sure, because I can't not do everything I learn about. I want to share. It's just what turns me on. It's just the thing that really gets me going. So I'm adding a new string to my bow. And one of the things I've noticed about the Magi is that you have two charts. You don't have just your latitude chart, which is the one that I've been reading for customers and learning about all my life. But there's also another chart, which is the longitude chart, and that makes its own chart. So I'm learning to read those, and very soon customers will be able to have a different kind of reading with me altogether, where I'm able to really pinpoint very specific times when things are going to really be beneficial and times when you might want to hold back. And I'm really fascinated by locating those times, and I do that already to a certain degree, but I think I can supercharge my skills, and given the feedback that I've already got, I'm very excited because I want to take my feedback even better. I want to make what I do really, really special. So that's my aim. So that's me as an astrologer, and as a person, I guess. So if you've listened this far, you've done really well. It feels like I'm just chatting to you as if we're just sat across the room having a glass of wine, only I don't actually drink. So I'm cheersing you, and anyway, maybe we'll have another conversation another time. Take care.